Have you ever laughed at a show so much that it felt like the entire world was laughing with you? That was the magic of the Benny Hill Show. For years, audiences around the globe couldn't get enough of Benny Hill's quick gags, zany characters, and iconic chase scenes. But then, one sketch changed everything. Suddenly, a hero who had made millions laugh found himself at the center of controversy. What happened? And why did it matter so much? Stay with me, because the story of Benny Hill is far more than a tale of jokes, it's a story of culture, change, and the high cost of comedy. Alfred Hawthorne Hill was born in Southampton in the mid-1920s. The exact year of his birth is debated, some records say 1924, others 1925, but one thing was clear, he came from a family with show business roots. His grandfather had been a circus clown, leaving a quiet but lasting impression on Alfred. It was a spark that would eventually ignite into one of the most recognizable comedic careers in history. Before Benny became a household name, life was far from funny. Alfred worked a variety of ordinary jobs, delivering milk, stacking shelves at Woolworths, driving cars, and even playing drums. While mundane on the surface, these jobs taught him a crucial lesson: how people behave when they think no one is watching. That subtle observation would later become the foundation of his humor, allowing him to capture the quirks of everyday life in ways audiences could instantly relate to. World events also shaped Alfred's path. During the Second World War, he joined the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, learning to repair engines and vehicles. He also served as a driver and searchlight operator, guiding beams of light across dark skies to reveal enemy planes. But it was in the Combined Services Entertainment section that his comedic talent truly emerged. Performing for exhausted soldiers, Alfred realized comedy could do more than entertain, it could lift spirits when hope seemed scarce. The laughter he inspired wasn't just fun, it was essential. After the war, Alfred turned to his idols for guidance. The great British music hall comedians taught him timing and physical comedy, but American radio star Jack Benny inspired him most. Benny's subtle timing and clever pauses were a revelation. So, Alfred adopted the stage name Benny, giving life to the persona that would define his career. Benny Hill's first radio show, Variety Bandbox, aired in 1947. It allowed him to experiment with characters and timing, but radio couldn't fully showcase his physical comedy. By the early 1950s, Benny had moved to television, where his facial expressions, gestures, and slapstick could truly shine. Over the next decade, he refined his craft. In 1962, he starred in the anthology show Benny Hill, changing characters every episode. His performance as Nick Bottom in a televised version of A Midsummer Night's Dream proved he could blend serious acting with comedy, even while following Shakespeare's rules. He returned to radio with Benny Hill Time, a series filled with pop culture parodies, spy spoofs, and recurring characters like Fred Scuttle. With each project, his reputation grew, and audiences began to notice a star on the rise. By the 1960s, Benny Hill had transformed from a Southampton boy into a national treasure of British entertainment. Ordinary jobs had taught him observation, wartime service had shaped his resilience, and his heroes had provided inspiration. He was ready to take the next step, a show that would redefine television comedy. The Benny Hill Show premiered on BBC on January 15, 1955. Unlike contemporary comedies, which often relied on wordplay or stand-up routines, Benny combined music, parody, and slapstick with the fast pace of television. Every episode was a whirlwind of short sketches, clever jokes, and visual gags. It wasn't just comedy, it was chaos organized into a brilliant, laugh-out-loud format. When the show moved to Thames Television in 1969, it expanded to one-hour episodes, giving Benny the space to create intricate sketches, elaborate musical numbers, and expansive storylines. The format worked, and the show quickly became a global phenomenon, airing in over 140 countries. His visual comedy transcended language and culture. Chases, pratfalls, and exaggerated expressions were universally funny. Key characters added depth to the comedy. Fred Scuttle, with his awkward speech, became a fan favorite. Jackie Wright, the bald actor repeatedly bopped by Benny in sketches, made every gag funnier with his deadpan reactions. And, of course, the famous chase scenes, sped up to the tune of yakety sax, became legendary, so iconic that the song itself is still synonymous with chaotic comedy today. In the 1980s, Benny introduced Hill's Angels, a troupe of dancers performing high-energy routines. While these segments added spectacle, they also sparked controversy. Critics argued that women were being treated as props rather than characters, a criticism that would later have serious consequences. Despite the debates, the show's popularity soared. In 1971, it drew over 21 million viewers in the UK, one of the highest ratings in British television history. International audiences adored it as well. Emmy nominations and awards like the Rose d'Or in 1984 cemented Benny Hill's status as a global comedy superstar. But the late 1980s brought change. Audiences and critics began to question whether Benny's humor was outdated. The very elements that made the show funny for decades, suggestive jokes, chase scenes, and cheeky innuendo, were increasingly criticized for treating women as objects. The tipping point came with a single sketch parodying a beauty pageant. Women in skimpy outfits were presented as visual jokes, with little characterization or dialogue. While the setup had been standard for decades, the punchline crossed a line for many viewers. Critics argued that what was once playful now felt offensive, reducing women to props rather than participants in comedy. This sketch crystallized long-standing criticisms. Feminists, journalists, and other comedians used it as evidence that the show was sexist. For younger audiences, who had grown accustomed to more nuanced comedy, Benny's antics seemed outdated and insensitive. The laughter that once defined his career now mixed with discomfort and disapproval. Benny Hill's decline didn't happen overnight. Society and comedy were evolving. Alternative comedians like Ben Elton championed political satire, sharp social commentary, and a rejection of old-fashioned slapstick. Elton and others criticized Benny for perpetuating harmful stereotypes and contributing to societal misogyny. Supporters defended Benny, arguing that comedy shouldn't be blamed for real-world issues and that his work was a relic rather than a threat. Yet the cultural tide was undeniable. What had been acceptable and beloved in the 1960s now seemed out of step with modern values. Ratings began to fall, criticism grew louder, and regulatory bodies like the Broadcasting Standards Council weighed in, signaling that the era of Benny Hill's brand of comedy was waning. By the late 1980s, the Benny Hill Show was a shell of its former self. While international audiences continued to enjoy reruns, British viewers were moving on. Each episode was expensive to produce, roughly €450,000 in 1980s money, equivalent to over €1.4 million today, and the return on investment was declining. Thames Television faced a stark choice. Declining ratings, rising costs, and mounting criticism made continuation unsustainable. In 1989, after 21 years on air, the show ended. Benny Hill tried to reinvent himself. Benny Hill's world tour in 1991 aimed to bring his comedy to international audiences, but only one episode, Greetings from New York, was completed. While old collaborators joined him, it lacked the energy of his heyday, and the comedy world had already shifted. Off-screen, Benny lived quietly and frugally. Despite his wealth, he rented modest apartments, repaired his own clothes, and shopped carefully. He never married and kept his personal life private, fueling speculation and rumors. Health issues plagued Benny in his later years. A heart attack in February 1992, followed by kidney failure, marked the beginning of the end. He refused surgery and treatment, living quietly until April 20, 1992, when heart thrombosis claimed his life at age 68. Ironically, a new work opportunity appeared the same day, but it came too late. Benny Hill's story is one of brilliance and controversy, laughter and cultural reflection. He rose from humble beginnings to entertain millions worldwide, yet the changing tides of society and comedy ultimately brought his era to a close. His legacy endures, not just in reruns and clips, but in the lessons his career offers about the evolving standards of humor, cultural perception, and the fragile balance between fame and controversy. Even today, the name Benny Hill evokes a specific brand of comedy, chaotic, fast-paced, and unapologetically physical. While modern audiences may debate his relevance, there's no denying the impact he had on television, comedy, and global pop culture. Benny Hill wasn't just a comedian, he was a mirror reflecting both the joy and the challenges of his time. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started.